to the Licensing Committee for 30th November 2019 information panel. Chairing today is Councillor Grimshaw, so I'll hand over to the chair. Over to you, Councillor Grimshaw.
Good morning and welcome to the committee today. My name is Councillor N Hassan, and I'll be chair. Have we any urgent business?
None received, Chair.
Appeals?
None received, Chair.
Interest?
Take it that's a no. Yeah, no one's piped up.
Approve the minutes from the last meeting? Anybody?
Does anyone want to move that and second it, perhaps?
Approved. I second
Happy
it.
to second it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. The first on the agenda today, Chair. Yes.
Councillor Andrews, can I give Councillor Evans his apologies? He's just texted me to say he's struggling to get on. He's trying his best, but he said, can I give his apologies?
Thank you, Paul. Accepted. And also, I'll be giving Councillor Ludford's apologies. She's got family issues she's dealing with, as we're all aware.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had apologies from Councillor Lynch as well, just so you're all aware.
Thank you.
So item 5, I believe Fraser might be able to tell us a bit more. I think this report's been put back.
Yes, thank you for that. Just to confirm, there's a few issues that still need to be resolved through the report. So at this stage, it's not ready for presentation to the committee. It will be brought to the next available committee.
Thank you, Fraser.
Okay, so that's all the business for Licensing Committee. And we can now move on to the Licensing and Appeals Committee. Again, if we start from item 1, urgent business, and we'll move through that way, please, Chair.
Any urgent business?
None received, Chair.
Any appeals?
None received, Chair.
Interest, members?
No interest.
Thank
No
you.
interest.
No. I think first on the agenda is the amendment to the
Oh, can we just confirm the minutes, please, Chair?
minutes from the previous meeting. Sorry, I missed.
That's fine, please.
Okay. Someone second that.
Second it.
Thank you. First on the agenda today is the amendment to the application. We can pass it over to officers to introduce it, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this report today is in relation to changes made by Manchester Airport to their drop-off charges. These changes have already been made, and therefore, in order for Hackney carriage drivers and proprietors to be able to recover these additional costs if they are dropping passengers off at the forecourt, the current fare card requires amending. As the committee will know, setting or making any amendments to the Hackney carriage fare is an executive function, and this committee acts in an advisory capacity to the executive in this regard. I'll just take you briefly through the relevant considerations outlined in the report. Manchester Airport Group first introduced the drop-off charges in 2018 and have not made any changes to those until now. As part of their recovery response to the pandemic, MAG have increased those charges, and the difference is set out in the table at 2.4 in the report. Members will note that customers can still avoid paying the additional charge if they choose to utilise the free drop-off facility where MAG provide free shuttle buses to the terminals. Similarly, passengers who are eligible for the Disability Blue Badge scheme will also continue to be able to access the forecourt dropping off zone free of charge. Members may recall that when we added the drop-off charge to the fare card as an extra in 2018, we used the lowest discounted rate of £1.80 to avoid issues arising from confusion or misapplication of the incorrect charge tier and related complaints. For this reason, it is therefore proposed that the new applicable drop-off charge on the fare card is the corresponding lowest discount new rate of £3, and this is the recommendation of officers today. This won't require any new meter resets and seals and will simply be a matter of reprinting the fare card to be displayed in each vehicle. If the committee agreed to make that recommendation in turn to the executive, this can be put to the meeting of the executive on the 9th of December, and officers can have the relevant newspaper notice ready in anticipation to be published that week, usually a Friday. And assuming there are no objections to that notice, the new fare cards could be printed by the end of December. That concludes this report, and I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you, Danielle. Members, have you any questions on this item?
Yeah, if you want to unmute yourself, is that Councillor Reid has a question?
Yeah, can you hear me? So I'm just trying to get Councillor Hughes on. Yeah, it's just about, obviously, with it being the COVID pandemic and trying to recovery, I'm just trying to think about, you know, what we should be doing to try and help everybody recover economically after. Just wondering if putting charges up is going to help everyone. I understand that we're going to be in difficulty as regards to payment, and so is the airport as regards to any money coming in, but I'm just thinking about the pandemic, that's all, and about the recovery. So I don't know if anybody's got any thoughts on that.
Members, any further questions? Members, any further questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Chair, can I move approval?
Yes, Danielle, is there anything you'd like to say first on what Councillor Reid has just brought up?
I guess just as it's referenced in the report, Chair, that, you know, there is still the option to be able to get a free drop off at the airport if people are struggling to pay the charge, I guess.
Okay, thank you very much. One moment, bear with me, please. Committee, do we agree this report to move?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Okay, we'll take that as agreed then. Thank you. Ooh. Committee, can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't see you, though.
I can hear you.
Yeah, well, yes, I've got my video on, but apparently I'm not coming up on the picture. That's why I wondered whether everyone could still see me.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Next on the agenda, item 2, the effects of COVID and testing and age policy. Danielle, I think you're going to give us this report.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This report has been requested by members following formal requests by various trade reps and licensees for the Council to consider amending the current age and test policies. The requests are made following the impacts of the COVID pandemic, particularly in light of the second national lockdown, and now in the knowledge that Manchester will remain in a stricter Tier 3, with large sections of the taxi and private hire trades custom remaining closed or restricted for the foreseeable. I've attempted to outline as much relevant information as possible to enable the committee to make informed decisions in relation to any temporary relaxations to these policies. I'll just take members through the main points in the report and then we'll be happy to take questions. Section 1 of the report outlines the current policies. The current upper age limit for Hackney is 13 years and it's 7 years for private hire. Both age limits have been in place for some time. Hackney carriages had been set at a 12-year limit since January 2008 until June 2019 when this committee added a year as a temporary extension. And the current private hire limit began in November 2006. Section 2 of the report outlines the context for this approach from the trades and what officers have done thus far within our gift to amend the service delivery to be as flexible as possible to support licensees through this very challenging time. While so many sectors have been badly hit by the effects of the restrictions imposed by the government to control the pandemic, members will know that the taxi and private hire trades were already facing some of the biggest changes to their industry has seen in some time. The pending Clean Air Zone and the interlinked minimum licensing standards are proposing changes to vehicle specification that would require considerable investment, particularly with regards to Hackney carriage vehicle proprietors. Decisions on the final requirements are yet to be made by all 10 Greater Manchester licensing authorities following the current consultations, but the proposals are outlined at point 2.12 of the report. No doubt the committee will recall it is because these matters are outstanding and the related funding arrangements for vehicle upgrades remains uncertain that a temporary extension was placed on the Hackney carriage upper age limit last year. In the next section, officers have sought to outline as much relevant data as possible for the committee. It is clear and obvious that business has been affected for both trades, again with Hackney's likely being more affected. What limited custom there is more likely to be planned and local, and therefore booked via local private hire operators. The ranks around the city and airport have been much quieter and almost defunct at times. But measuring this impact isn't straightforward, and as with any data analysis, there are a number of factors to take into account when drawing inferences from the data. Points 3.2 and 3.3 of the report summarises some of the softer, more anecdotal evidence from officer engagement with the trade and observations, and clearly supports that there has been a massive reduction in their business over the last 8 months. With the trade reporting much reduced mileage, officers have analysed the mileage data recorded at the vehicle tests. The charts at point 3.5 show the change seen over a sample of records in each fleet, comparing the mileage recorded at tests taking place when the garage reopened this year in July, August and September, compared to the mileage on that same vehicle at the same annual test in 2019 and again in 2018 to provide the 2 year-by-year comparisons. It should be noted that while the sample size is enough to give a good indication, it is only a relatively small proportion of each fleet due to the numbers of vehicles that change on licences and having a limited data sample to take from this year. The data shows, however, that private hire vehicles have already seen a 25% reduction in mileage and Hackney's around a 33% reduction. It should further be noted that many vehicle proprietors may have made more use of their licensed vehicles for personal or domestic reasons during lockdown, and that many within the trade have also found alternative uses delivering goods or food parcels. To consider whether a reduction in working mileage undertaken by the vehicles translates into the vehicles suffering fewer mechanical faults, 3.7, 3.8 and 3.9 of the report outlines the test data for the committee. Unfortunately, we have not been able to split this data by trade at this time, but this should be possible for any future report. What the data shows is that there has been a reduction each month in the number of vehicles failing their tests, and that this wasn't just as a result of fewer tests being conducted. The number of tests conducted during the months in 2020 were lower than in previous years, but the reduction in failed tests is larger than the percentage reduction in the tests each month. The split between major and minor faults, however, remains largely unchanged. Of note, the decrease in July 2020, immediately after the initial lockdown, when most vehicles had either not worked or done very limited work, was most significant, with a percentage of failures at only 19%, which is significantly lower than the first 3 months of 2020. However, trade members have also fed back that due to the severe impacts of the pandemic on their income, they are also struggling to afford routine vehicle maintenance. It would probably be a reasonable assumption to make, based on the data, that following a further 4-week national lockdown, and with Manchester exiting into Tier 3 restrictions until at least 16th of December, that the average mileage on our licensed vehicles would continue to decline compared to previous years, and the corresponding testing failure rate may also decrease. Section 4 of the report outlines the risks associated with any decision the committee may make today. The age, related emissions and testing policies were put in place to ensure high standards of public safety and to meet our strategic objectives for a world-class fleet. The policies have achieved huge improvements in testing failure rates over the last decade or so, which were as high as 65% failure in reports in 2009. However, members will also be aware that both our age and testing policies are some of the most stringent nationally, and so temporary relaxations are unlikely to have huge impacts on public safety at a time where there remains limited work available. And you'll note at 4.10 of the report, officers can still, under Section 50 of the Local Government and Miscellaneous Provisions Act, require a vehicle to be tested at any time if there is a concern over its fitness. Extending the age limit once more for hackneys will mean more older and more polluting vehicles will likely remain licensed. But these are still fairly small numbers, and as we know, they are hardly working, if at all, at present. As a hackney vehicle licence cannot be renewed, however, without a suitable vehicle being attached to the plate, not extending the age limit would require those proprietors to have to replace their vehicles now during these economically challenging times and pending the outcome of the Clean Air consultation next year. As it's currently uncertain when the Clean Air Plan will take effect, and given the delays the scheme has already encountered, if the committee were minded to allow a temporary extension to age limits, it may be pertinent not to set a time limit on the extension, but to extend until the finalisation of the Clean Air and MLS work. Some trade members have pointed to other local authorities who have subsidised the waiving of renewal licence fees for the trades, for example in Liverpool, where this happened. In Liverpool, this was funded by money that the city regional authorities received from the government to help in the COVID recovery, and was given out by the city region mayors. Due to the size of the fleets and fees in Liverpool, the total reported cost was £663,400. To make the same gesture here would cost just under £1 million for hackneys alone. We have not been informed as yet whether any of the COVID recovery funds provided to the city region are to be awarded to helping the hackney and private hire trades in Manchester. Any change in testing policy will have a financial implication for the service, and this is probably the most significant risk for members to note. Finally, at 4.9 of the report, the committee will find relevant information relating to an assessment of these considerations from an equality impacts perspective. Today, in taking all of this into consideration, the committee have a number of options. Either to make no changes to any current policy at this point in time, to temporarily allow an extension to either or both hackney and private hire vehicle age limits, and to reduce the testing frequency of either or both hackney and private hire vehicles. As stated, the biggest risk is the lack of confirmed funding support to reduce the frequency of testing. Members will want to consider this against the risks and impacts of not reducing the required frequency, including that income could be lost also if licensees choose to be licensed elsewhere. If the committee is minded to temporarily reduce the frequency of tests, consideration may be given to limiting the change to the end of March 2021, to allow time to understand how the pandemic and the government's response continues to develop, and with further data being brought back to the committee at that point to review the position. A recommendation position is set out at 6.4 in the report for members to consider. And this concludes my overview of the report, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Danielle. Have we any questions? Members. Members,
No, thank you, Chair.
have we any questions?
Carmine, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think we should. It was a great report. Well, it's been well put out and everything, but I think we should go for a temporary relaxation. Everybody's been affected by this, and taxi drivers, both private and Hackney, are no different.
Chair.
Councillor
Andrews. Yeah, I'd support the comment made by Councillor Hughes, but rather than just give a sort of overall extension, I'd like to give an extension till March 21, so we can revisit this and have a look at any potential support we're going to be getting from government. So I'd be happy to support a temporary extension, extension of these till March 21, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I don't know if everyone can see me now, but my camera doesn't seem to be working. I hope my voice is coming through clear. Yeah,
Can I make a comment? It's Councillor Jeavons.
you can, William.
Can I just, I support the changes, but as Councillor Andrews said, I think there ought to be a time limit on it, and not putting that time limit associated with another function like the climate, the emissions issues, just because those are things that we don't have control of in this committee. So, like Councillor Andrews, I think there ought to be a time limit on it, and next April seems a good one.
March, William.
Sorry, I was thinking end of March, beginning of April.
Okay. Committee, any further questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
So we're asked to extend the limit of the Hackney carriage, private hire, and reduce vehicle testing requirements. And we're accepting from March 2021 would be a good time to do that. Is everybody clear with that?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, can we take a vote then that we just accept this and push it through?
Yes.
Agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
I think that's unanimous. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thanks for that, everyone. Next on the agenda is exclusion of public, so I thought I'd jump in and check with Andrew Hunt on the tech side. If we can just lose the YouTube link now, please, Andrew.